So you're a Titan main, or a newer player within Destiny itself, and is trying, at least is willing to try the Titan class itself. But you're not 100% sure which playstyle you want to go. But you want something that is extremely strong, viable in endgame, and most importantly, a lot of fun. You've seen a lot of amazing builds around Titan itself, and you know within this patch the Titan is the meta right now. It's ridiculously a lot of fun and does a lot of damage compared to the other viable classes within Destiny itself. So you got yourself intrigued. So you popped up in this beautiful channel itself, and you want to see what this build can actually do. Now, I can guarantee you that this build does three things extremely well. This build has extremely high survivability, is amazing in ad clearing, and most importantly, it's a lot of fun. That is literally the most fun I had playing as a Titan main within Destiny itself. It is something completely different that we know and love from the concentration builds that you love to see within the channel itself. But it is something that is going back to the old school if it comes to Destiny itself. We bring it raw, we bring the behemoth back to the game itself, and to a build what I like to call the Song of Ice and Fire. So why I like to call it like that, because this build is concentrated himself within three unique weapons and unique exotic itself. The very first weapon in our arsenal we like to use within this build is the one and only Tanish Mastery. The Tanish Mastery, you have this weapon with two unique perks. Within this weapon arsenal we are having right now, we're using the air trigger and the chill clip. The chill clip, what it's going to do the moment I kill an enemy, it's not only going to slow that enemy, but it's going also to slow every single targets in the surrounding itself. If it comes to ad clearing and of course managing the battlefield, the Tanish Mastery is simply god tier if it comes to endgame contents. The secondary weapon in our arsenal we like to use is Sunshots. Sunshots is an amazing weapon, same thing it comes to ad clearing. We have of course so the Sun Blast, and on this perk the Sun Blast what's going to do is going to scorch not only the target and also the surrounding enemy. It's super lot of fun because I like to switch between the Tanish Mastery to slow them down and execute them with this Sunshot, so I can create like a mixture between ice and fire at the same time. It's so much fun. And the last weapon that we like to use, of course, is the one and only big dig damage chill inhibitor itself. On this weapon we have of course Whim Stealer, and we have Bait and Switch. For our chosen exotic that we are playing with the Behemoth build, we chose of course to run with the Ice Mantle exotic. And speaking of the Ice Mantle exotic, this exotic has been updated since this season to have more and tankier and invisibility playstyles. This exotic truly gives you the feeling that you are playing with a frontline warrior itself. In exchange what it had before, it increases your stasis weapon damage output. But I do want to emphasize that it is important that you play with this build on the stasis class, preferably the normal stasis class and not the prismatic itself, because this build truly synergizes himself with the old school stasis playstyle itself. And yes, you can play with the prismatic class, it's absolutely not a problem, but it truly shines himself with the stasis build and stasis class itself as a natural form, how is it truly attended itself. What is Ice Mantle truly going to do? It's going to give you a maximum frost armor charge. The moment you're using your class ability itself, it's going to do two things very uniquely. It's not only going to do a very large freezing burst attack, it's going to slow all the targets around you. Additionally to that, is going to give you all the maximum armor charges that you need for frost armor. By doing it so, it's not only going to increase your defense, but also going to heal you and impact as well. So in form of endgame content and survivability, the Ice Mantle really becomes a very powerful exotic if you are synergizing this of course perfectly with the Behemoth stasis class. Now you know a little bit more about the Ice Mantle, let's take a closer look about our subclass, why we're truly using the aspect, the fragments and everything around it. The first thing first, let's talk about the super that you're using for the Behemoths. To make this build really synergize perfectly, we're using of course the one and only Glacius Quake. What the Glacius Quake is going to do, when you slam your gauntlet to the ground and stuff, you create like a form of a shockwave. This shockwave then eventually freezes all the targets in front of you and in the surrounding itself. When it freezes first, every single person that it freezes creates a stasis shard, and those stasis shards then can eventually be broken, dealing additional damage to the opponents in front of you and around you. What this subclass does extremely well, the more enemies in your surrounding, the more damage this thing truly does. So if you have yourself a boss that has a very unique mechanics that knows how to multiply himself one way or another, this stasis super becomes extremely deadly. The good thing about this super is also very powerful against stopping unstoppable champions itself. If it comes to aspect ratio itself, what we like to use, the very first one is of course the one and only tectonic harvest. What a tectonic harvest is going to do, when shattering a crystal or frozen target, create a stasis shards, and this shards then grant you melee energy when you pick it up for you and your allies itself. We are creating a lot of stasis shards when it is built and the weapons we are using itself. The second aspect that we're using is diamond lance. The diamond lance, what's going to do, the moment we have a kill, you shatter an enemy, it creates itself and lands on the ground itself. This lance then we can use by throwing it towards the enemy, and every single impact that it does, it freezes and slows the enemy in our surrounding. Or we can use with an R1 a small burst attack that deals an AoE around 8 meters in our surrounding and freezes every single thing in that area itself. Because of the weapon we are using, the Tanish Mastery, every single kill that we have, it creates a stasis shard every single time. So these two aspects, Tectonic Harvest and Diamond Lance, is always parking himself at 100% up rates. Of course, the very first fragment we are using, of course, is the one and only Whispering Chain. The Whispering Chain, what it's going to do, by defeating a target while you have a Frost Armor, you have a chance to create a stasis charge. And because of the exotic that we are using, we can upkeep our Frost Armor as well as 100%. With the weapon we are using, Tanish Mastery, the upkeep of our Frost Armor is as well at 100% up rate itself. That means the Whispering Chain itself, if one of a fragment, is always on at 100% time. Secondary a fragment that we are using is, of course, is the Whisper of the Conduct. The Whisper of Conduct, what it does, nearby enemy shards attract automatically against you. So it states for itself, every single shard that is being created, it automatically tracks itself towards me, so I don't have to physically go and pick them up. It gives me a little bit of a quality of life improvement if it comes to my overall control of the battlefield itself. Additionally to that, it increases my resilience and intelligence by 10%. Whisper of Rendering, primary weapon, increases damage to our stasis crystal and frozen target itself, and once again this synergizes himself perfectly with our weapon of choice, the two weapon of choice, of course, the Chill Inhibitor and the Tanish Master itself. Increases the damage output of our stasis weapon, of course, and every single time I freeze or burst the crystal itself, and it is happening literally an upkeep of 100%. Because we have Rim Stealer as well on our Chill Inhibitor, this procs Rim Stealer as well at 100% upkeep. Because Rim Stealer, what this does, Rim Stealer, it does destroying and stasis crystal or defeating a frozen target with this weapon grants you a improved amount of frost armor. So because we're dealing a lot of stasis crystals, so we're doing a freezing and destroying a lot of stasis crystals. With Rim Stealers, we have a frost armor as well upkeep, as once again at 100% upkeep. All of these weapons synergize themselves perfectly with one another. That's why we constructed this build how it is. The next armor set we of course fragment we are using is the Whisper of Rime. The Whisper of Rime, your frost armors increase duration and the maximum stack accounts. Because having this equipped, it increases our frost armor from 0.5 to 0.8. So we've completely increased our defensive survivability and in-game contents. Last but not least, we are of course using the Whisper of Shards itself. What the Whisper of Shards is going to do, shattering a stasis crystal and temporarily boost your grenade recharge, and shattering additional crystal increases the duration of its benefits. So once again, it makes sure that we have a 100% upkeep if it comes to our damage or melee output, and of course our grenade itself. If it comes to abilities that we are using right now, we're using the Rally Barricade. The Rally Barricade will make sure That's our class ability. Recharge himself much faster. If it comes to the lift, we're using the Strife lifts. Choose the lift that you want to choose. If it comes to movability, I like to choose this one. If it comes to melee strike ability, we're using the Shivering Strike. What it's going to do, we're doing a charge melee attack that launches himself towards the enemy itself and deals a devastating melee attack to yourself and in form of a small AoE to the enemies in surrounding and slows them also well down. It's a very powerful ability. I like to use this in form of combo strike between throwing my grenade and my melee at the same time. My grenade of choice, of course, is Glacius Grenade. What it's going to do, the moment I throw it on the ground itself, create like a small barricade where I can use then a form of not only healing an ally who has been fall down. I can use this as a form of additional wall around me, or in front of me. I can use this as well against an enemy to slow them down and to freeze them on the ground. And of course, I can use this with my other stasis ability to shatter the crystals itself, so it creates like a form of additional burst attack. So we have a lot of options that we are doing with this, a form of ad control, DPS output within this build. Now we have our subclass completely out of the way, but if you have any additional questions, none whatsoever, be free to ask me in the comments down below or within our Discord page. Now, if it comes to our armor stats, the three main armor stats we're truly going to focus on to make sure that we are viable in endgame content is going to be resilience, recovery, and discipline. So what does these three things truly does? The first thing is to understand resilience. Resilience dictates our amounts of health and shield and overall damage resistance, which makes this great if it comes to how this build is constructed. This build makes heavily use of resistance in form of frost armor and stats resistance that stacks with our damage resistance. As such, the higher our resistance stands, the higher our damage resistance is. Furthermore, resilience is also the Titan class stats, which means the higher our resistance, the faster our class ability recharges itself. So that also means the Glacius Guard of our class exotic itself will be able to use this more often. So how higher our class stats is, and the higher, of course, and how faster we can use Glacius Guard, and the more tanky we are in in-game content. Recovery is our second and most important stats in our build. Recovery decreases the delay between taking damage and the start of our health regen, as well increases the rate of our regeneration of our health in general. Cause this becomes then a very important stats in this build showcase. Why? Just because our initial healing aspect is truly only based on our stasis shards. So by having a high recovery, it becomes easier for your health to recover itself, especially in an instance where you need to hide yourself, taking cover, and you have stasis shards are extremely far away for you to be able to reach. So recovery becomes very important if it comes to survivability. Now, fam, within the very first 4 column of your armor stats itself, you also have something that's called mobility. If it comes to a Titan, mobility is something that's not truly necessary. The only thing that mobility does is allow you to jump higher where you need to be able to jump towards to. So if it comes to our Titan itself, that is something is not truly important for us. But my only sole advice I will give it to you, only put around 30% when it comes to mobility itself. So this will allow you to jump into ledges or places that are a little bit higher than normal. So give you a little bit of accessibility as well if you do need it. Higher than 30%, 30 points into mobility, it truly is not needed. Mobility is something more for hunters. Our next stats if it comes to our armory is discipline. Discipline is one of the 3 most important stats if it comes to a Titan main. Discipline dedicates the recharge rate of our grenade ability. The higher our discipline, the more grenade we can throw and use, of course. This is increased, of course, our stasis crystal uptime by some extension as well. Your overall grenade recharge rate, your damage output, and your stasis shard creation is all in form of capability linked to what your discipline itself. So this makes discipline one of the most important stats if you are speccing itself when it comes to a Titan main. Secondary itself, we have strength. Another stats that should not be ignored if it comes to a Titan itself and overall builds. Remember, it comes to strength. Strength generally it decreases the cooldown of your melee abilities by a passive amount. This build has a high uptime if it comes to stasis shards, which can be seen as insignificant, but it still grants you a decent amount of melee ability if it comes to recharge rate itself. How this build by itself has been constructed. Remember, just by having a little bit of a higher strength will make your build and of course your regen of your melee ability just goes a little bit faster than normal. But please guys, do not favor strength over discipline, as discipline is significantly more important than strength itself. If you are speaking of your character itself, truly focus yourself on your discipline, recovery and resilience. These are the 3 most important stats we have when it comes to our builds. But just keep it in mind, if you have an okay level of strength, it just helps you if it comes to regenerate your melee ability even faster itself. Additionally to how the melee has been constructed itself when it comes to the shard use and the build construction we have done. And yes, it does increases a little bit more. If it comes to intelligence itself, intelligence by itself is completely useless if it comes to this build and a Titan itself, so we definitely don't put any points into it, leave it how it is, depends on the armor sets that you have required. Now we have discussed of course our armors and of course what is important for us to spec on. Now let's check very closely which type of mods that we use in the different form of armor sets. First we start of course with the helmets. And within our helmets, we are using, of course, the harmonic cipher and the kinetic cipher. The harmonic cipher, what it's going to do, it create an orb of power of every single kinetic weapons that we have a final blow on. So this orb of power then we can pick up and help us, of course, increasing our super abilities. We're using a kinetic weapon because the Stasis Mastery is a form of a kinetic weapon, so that every final blow with that kinetic weapons then increases of course and create another orb of power on the ground itself. So we try to create it as much as possible. And last but not least, we're using a special ammo finder. This is going to help us to of course to help find ammos that is based on special ammos itself. What I'm trying to mean by that, Stasis Mastery is a weapon that is equipped by special ammos itself. So it is our primary weapons that we're using in forms of DPS outputs. So we make sure that we have an easier uptime in finding weapons ammo of that weapon itself. So special ammo finder help us in that aspects. If it comes to our arm piece, what we are using then, our arm piece, we are using of course harmonic loader. Harmonic loader, what that is going to do is just going to help our stasis weapon to reload a little bit faster. If it comes to our other mods, in our arm piece we're using the bolster detonation twice. What it's going to do, grant class ability energy when you causes and damage with a grenade. So it helps us regen our class ability even faster so we can use it more often. I think it's around 8.5%. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments down below. If it comes to our chest piece, we're only using the resistance that we are required in the events we are doing. If it comes to our leg piece, we are using of course 2 pieces of stasis of weapon surge. Stasis weapon surge increases our damage output of our stasis weapon around 70%. While you have an armor charge or your charge now is an over decay. And the last thing that we use of course is the elemental's charge. What is that's going to do, every single time we are collecting of course our stasis shards, every 4th stasis shard it grants us another armor charge. So this is another way for us to gain armor charges faster in our build, so it helps us a little bit more in our resistance just in generally, and also for ability and game contents. What Bomber is going to do, Bomber will allow us to have 12% an increase in our Glacier's grenade instantly while using our Glacier's guard class ability. This will help us in the form of creating a loop between our Glacier's grenade and our stasis shards itself. Glacier's grenades is summoned by stasis shards, and collecting them grants you of course class ability. Thanks to that, all the different form of the cold artifact mods we are using. Using a class ability grants you then Grenade energy and bomber is become so significantly useful that I just cannot pass by now recommending you this. Our second armory mod we're using our mark is Reaper. Reaper has a 10-second cooldown, but we use this because it boosts our super regen, as well grants us a stack of armor charge upon collecting. The last mod that we're using, of course, is Time Dilution. Will increase our armor charge and stack from 10 seconds to 50 seconds, and this also increases our uptime of our weapon storage for 50% itself. How my fellow guardians, now marked officially the end of this build showcase. This is officially this is my third build that I'm doing within Destiny itself. First, I want to thank every single one of you who chilled all the way to the end and listened to all of it. I hope you guys didn't understand it, and let me know if you tested this build, how it plays and feels for yourself, if it comes to your enjoyment and your playthrough, if it comes to Destiny itself. I'm also known as Kishi itself, also well known within the Destiny community as the very last Destiny Vanguard still on the server itself. As we are growing as a channel itself, as a content creator, and of course a build crafter, I'll get more knowledgeable when it comes to Destiny itself, and creating different builds, fun builds, out of the box thinking builds that will continue our enjoyment of our beautiful games that we all love to enjoy itself. So I also thank you very much. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this build, good or bad, the things I can improve as a build crafter and of course a content creator. It really helps me grow. All your comments and your feedback, and most importantly, smash the like button, spread the message, spread the love of this channel itself. And any additional questions, you can always reach me on the comments down below or on my Discord page itself. Share your contents, share your style, your builds, your style of your Vanguard itself. And most importantly, if you ever need help, none whatsoever, if it comes to Grandmaster or any other content into the game, and I'm always willing to help you within my best of my abilities, of course, guide you wherever I see where I can guide you in, of course. So thank you very much. Merci beaucoup encore infiniment pour m'écouter. And hopefully I can see every single one of you during my live streams, which I do daily, not only for Destiny itself, but any other games as well, like the Souls games and etc. You're always going to find me there chilling. Come and chill, ask me everything you need. And of course, I see you very, very soon on the next tips and trick guide video walkthrough that we do in abundance within this channel itself. I'm your host, Kishi. So thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next time, man. One love only. Peace.